Hello everyone. I'm recording this video to give you a quick preview of Pollination Panel, the improved version that we recently released. The command is POPanel, so if you type POPanel, it will bring up the panel. I already have it. It's basically the Pollination web UI, the one that you get at app.pollination.cloud, but then you load it from Rhino. And because you load it from Rhino, now you have access to the Rhino document, so the panel can send data back and forth to the Rhino document or get it from the Rhino document. Why is it important? Because it means now instead of using this button here to run simulation load results, which is not necessarily the best UI and it has been always behind the web UI, you use the same, you use the web page that you know how to use for setting up all your studies. So I can click here, go to projects. These are my personal projects. I can also go to Ladybug Tools projects or any other organization that I'm part of. I'm going to go to this classroom studies. And if I want to create a new study, I can just click on plus here. And the rest of the process is the same. You just click, select the recipe that you want to run, and it creates the user interface for you to put the study name, description. You have required input and optional inputs now separated. In some recipes, they can be separated by name depending on how the recipe is designed. But the good thing is now if you want to load the model, you don't have to download it or save it as HPJSON or any other format. You just can do get model, and the model will be loaded into the panel. If I click here on this preview button, you will see that it's selected correctly and it's inside the Rhino panel here. I can also load the model from a local file if I want, or I can load it from one of the cloud models that I already have in this project. So they're all possibilities, but usually when you're inside the Rhino plugin, you have the model in Rhino, so this option is very handy. Here is the weather file. Again, you can upload it from cloud or you can select a local file. We are working, we have discussed adding project informations to Rhino, Pollination Rhino plugin, which means like you can get the weather file also from the Rhino document, so you don't have to select it every time. The other feature here is now you can switch between local and cloud from the web UI when you load it from inside Rhino. So I can schedule the study to run on cloud, or I can change it to run locally for local runs. I can select the number of CPUs, and I can select where it's going to be safe to run the study. So one very exciting feature, or at least I think is very exciting, that we added to the panel now is because now you can schedule the studies to run locally, you can also keep track of them. So in this drop-down, we have a studies, file settings. These were there all the time before, but now you can also get local studies. That means all the runs that you have executed under this specific project locally will be loaded here. In this specific case, I only have one local study which is executed from Rhino. But if I had more local studies executed from Grasshopper or Revit, I could see them here too. So you want to make sure you run the local studies under the right project, so you get it from that project. And the cards are now looking the same between the local projects and the projects that you schedule on cloud. There will be information about the run. If there is a description, you click here, you can see the description, who scheduled the run, what's the recipe, status, like how long did it take and how much CPU usage the run had. You have the outputs here and the inputs here. Depending on local versus cloud, these buttons will open a different location, but what is the same is for visualization, now you can preview them directly inside Rhino. So you can actually also, you can click on the card and use the web viewer if you want. So this is the web viewer that you should be familiar with. You can just maximize it if you want, and then you can basically see all different data types that we have. You can press escape to go out from full screen. So all of these things are here, but you can also preview it inside Rhino. You might notice that when I did the web viewer, I had multiple metrics, but now it only shows one metric, the active metrics in Rhino when I click on this preview button. That's something that we are improving and will be available later, so you can basically switch between all the options. But the other option that you have is you can bake this result to Rhino. So I switch it from preview to add, and now if I click on add, the result will be added to the Rhino document. So if I go here, now you can see there are multiple layers, right? And under this layer, you have useful daylight illuminance, which is on. I can go and change it and turn on daylight autonomy, for example. And these are Rhino plugin, Pollination Rhino plugin objects, right? These are on their display object manager. You can see all the 5 metrics are saved here, which means I can change these values. I can also run analytics on this because I have all the values. It's not only a colored mesh, right? I can come here and change the color set, let's say preview, right? So you could see the difference between UDI and daylight autonomy right now and how different metrics gives you different understanding of the space, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. So we talked about you can schedule all the studies, you can schedule local studies, you can review local studies, you can bake the results, you can manipulate the result after you bake it. So now it's part of this Rhino document that I can send to other people. But there is also this case that we have seen people are, okay, Pollination is great, I can share projects, I can send visualization to people, but what if I just want to download this visualization as a file? Now you can do that. There is an option here to download HTML. I click on it and it will download the whole visualization as an HTML file, which I can open. It might take a few seconds. Let me click on open again. So I think it opened 2 instances. Yeah, so this is now an HTML file that's downloaded locally, which has all the information. You can share this file with people who don't want to use Rhino or not comfortable using Rhino. This is basically a web interface. All the data are here, you know, like you can change all the things that you can change from the Rhino interface, like the color set, minimum, maximum, all those stuff. And you can take a screenshots. All the good things that you want to do from a viewer are available here. You can switch between parallel and, you know, perspective, all this stuff. So that's another one. You can download the HTML files, which can be very useful. I think one last thing that I want to show, and I use it a lot myself, is now you can use the Rhino plugin to kind of check the models that are you had on Pollination. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open a new file here. And I'm going just to randomly check one of the recent projects on Pollination. So usually what happens is when people tell me like, oh, we ran something and there was an issue or error, and then they want, if I want to test. So what I do, I basically can come here, right? So let's say this one that Victor has scheduled, and then I can go to the study, and I can quickly check the output. Where is the model? It's far from the center. That's not good practice, but anyways, you can see it here. I can turn off the preview, and then usually what I want to do, I want to bring down the model. So before you had to download the model and then open it inside Rhino, save it somewhere. Right now you can go here and make it either use add or replace. The difference is when you do add, it adds it to the current model. So if you have several rooms or something, it will add this rooms in this model to your current model. Replace basically means remove the model that I currently have and use this one. I usually use replace when you run parametric studies, you have a model that basically is now the newer version of the model that you wanted to use. So you click on replace, and what will happen is now this model is replaced inside Rhino, and you see it comes with all the information that the model has, climate zone, everything. So not only I can bake the inputs, I can also bake the outputs and visualization, right? So I can also add the visualization here to this document for debugging if I want. Okay, I think I covered everything that was part of this new release. This is again like the first release of the panel. We're also working on integration with Revit, so you can use the same UI from all the platforms, from the web, Rhino, Revit. We're looking for feedback. to see what are the things that you like, what are the things that you think can be better. One last comment that I want to add is for local studies, when you schedule local studies, they are not being sent to the cloud. Everything is kept local. So there is no issues with privacy. The only thing that will show up on cloud under your account is the project name. None of the files, none of the studies that you have executed, but if you create a public project, then the name of the project will show up. So you can use the demo project, for example, that everyone gets by default. So that's not something to be worried about, but I know that some people had concern about running things locally, and then if the information is uploaded to Pollination Cloud, no. Like if you run things locally, everything is kept locally. Thank you for watching and looking forward to hear your feedback. Thanks.